All right, let's just jump right in. Think about this. Inside every big company, there's this incredible treasure trove of ideas, insights, and experience. But what if I told you that most of that treasure is just locked away, inaccessible, basically wasted? This is probably a story that sounds painfully familiar to a lot of you. Your company spends a fortune on some fancy new knowledge management system, a KMS, that promises to get everyone collaborating. But a few months down the line, crickets. It's a digital ghost town. So, what gives? What's going wrong here? And that right there brings us to the heart of the matter, the trapped knowledge problem. This is a huge challenge for global companies, where everything depends on sharing what you know. But the reality is, it often just doesn't happen. Okay, so the usual fix for this has always been technology, right? Companies throw money at these knowledge management systems, and on paper, they're the perfect solution, like a central brain for the whole organization. But as we're finding out, what looks good on paper doesn't always work out in the real world. And here's the kicker. The research shows that the reason these expensive systems fail isn't usually some bug in the software. It's because we completely misunderstand the human environment it's supposed to work in. The problem wasn't the code. It was, well, us. It's the people. So what do companies usually do when this happens? They double down on the tech itself. They think we just need to make it slicker, faster, more user-friendly. The focus is almost always on just improving the technology. And, this logic isn't coming out of nowhere. It's based on a pretty famous framework called the Technology Acceptance Model. It's super simple. If you make a tool that people find useful for their job and you make it easy to use, they'll use it. Seems pretty straightforward. Problem solved, right? Yeah, but if that was really the whole story, we wouldn't be talking about all these digital ghost towns, would we? Something big is clearly missing from the equation. So, to figure out what that missing piece is, we've got to look at the human side of things. A study did just that. Researchers sat down with 42 executives, and what they found? It goes way deeper than just a clunky user interface. Just listen to this quote from one of those execs. They said that in their company, knowledge is literally seen as a source of power. So, hoarding what you know is how you stay important. You can have the most beautiful software in the world, but it's not going to fix a fundamental power struggle. And then there's this other huge barrier, trust, or a lack of it. Another executive pointed out that if employees don't know who shared a piece of information or they don't trust that person, they're just not going to use it. The whole system just turns into this pile of data that nobody trusts or wants to touch. So let's just unpack what's really going on here. These are not technical issues. They are deeply, deeply human. You've got people who are scared that if they share their best ideas, they'll become less valuable come review time. You've got internal politics, hidden agendas, all that fun stuff. And get this, sometimes the most valuable knowledge, the stuff about how things really get done, maybe including some ethically questionable shortcuts, well, there's no way anyone is putting that on an official company server. So if the problem is human, it's gotta be a human solution, right? And that's where we land on the real answer here. It's the culture. Culture is the catalyst that makes everything else work. And look, this isn't just some vague, feel-good idea. To back this up, a follow-up study was done. This time, it was a quantitative survey of 221 KMS users across different multinational companies in Europe and the Middle East to really put some numbers to the test. And the results? They were crystal clear. The old way of thinking was super simple. Better tech automatically means more sharing. But what we're seeing now, the new reality, is a bit different. It's really that a better culture is what leads to people actually using the tech, and that's what leads to more sharing. Culture is the key that unlocks the whole thing. Okay, so what does a good culture even look like in this context? What are we talking about here? Well, the study pointed to 3 specific things. First up is adaptability, being genuinely willing to change how you work. Second is involvement, making sure employees feel empowered and that teamwork is the default. And finally, mission, having a really clear shared purpose that everybody's pulling towards. Now here's how it actually works, which is pretty fascinating. A culture that has those traits doesn't just make people want to share more, it actually changes how people see the technology itself. Suddenly, in that trusting, collaborative environment, that same KMS starts to feel more useful, and it even seems easier to use. Culture basically hacks the technology acceptance model, changing the game entirely. All right, so let's tie this all together. Let's follow the thread from fixing the people problem all the way to seeing real business results. This is the path to performance. It really boils down to this 4-step winning formula. Step 1, you have to foster that culture of sharing we talked about. Get the adaptability, the involvement, the mission right. What happens next? Step 2, your employees actually start to embrace the tools you bought for them. Then, step 3, knowledge starts flowing freely. It's finally unlocked. And that leads us to the final payoff, step 4, the whole organization wins. And I want to be clear, we're not just talking about everyone feeling happier at work. The study found a direct, measurable, statistically significant link between this kind of knowledge sharing and how well the company performs. Yeah, we're talking about real-world stuff like gaining market share, boosting sales growth, and improving profitability. So if there's one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this. Your culture is the operating system for your technology. You can have the best, fastest hardware on the planet, but without the right OS, it's just an expensive paperweight. And that leaves us with a really important question you should be asking yourself. Think about your own company. Is your culture the OS that makes your tech fly? Or is it the virus that's creating your next expensive and totally empty digital ghost town?